You're listening to Where You Live with Gene Sullivan.
Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene Sullivan. I'm broadcasting from the True North Painting Studios. Before we get back into the show, I want to just let our listeners know we've got a free gift for you. We put together a bi-monthly newsletter called What's New. A lot of what we talk about on the show, we talk in further detail in that newsletter. People that we have on the show also are writers for that newsletter as well. All you have to do is give us a call during the week at 952-922-2500. Ask for Lori, and she'll make sure that you start receiving your newsletter either electronically or by mail. Just to wrap up, just a quick moment or two here on that House File 300 that we were talking to with attorney Paul Bernberg. I still have, as I mentioned to him in the last segment, some concerns about what this will do to landlords in pushing them into another month. And that may not seem like a lot, but I am thinking now not about the landlord who may have thousands of units, and he has a 200-unit apartment here, building here, a 400-unit apartment building over there, and one or two evictions is not too bad on a 100-unit building, conceivably. But I'm talking about a lot of the people who are the accidental landlords, and in this particular climate and market that we are still in, with properties that have been underwater for so long, the responsible people have been renting out their homes and then moving on because they have to, because of a death or change in their family status, or because of a job transfer, because of military service. And so they go and turn to have that unit rented. And if they unfortunately end up with a bad apple, it is either 100% rented or 100% vacant. And you add to that the fact that they're probably underwater, and even with the rent coming in, they're not making money. They still have to add and put a little on the table each and every month just to make those mortgage payments, to be a good citizen. And now we're saying we're going to push this even further because it seems to be more compassionate to say to someone, we're serious now. I mean, it. When you stop and think about it, I don't want to. I'm going to give you an analogy here. I'm not saying that renters are children, okay? So please do not take that away from this. But let's go an example as being a parent. When does a child know that a parent means business? They'll say, Johnny, I don't want you to do this. Johnny, stop that. Johnny, I'm going to count to 10. Johnny, 1, 2. Johnny, I mean business now. 3, 4. And when does Johnny stop? Johnny stops at 10. Why does he stop at 10? Because 10 is when it is when that child, that person, that other entity understands that the other person meant business. And why can't we take a look at these contractual relationships, a landlord and a renter, as two adults who are entering into a contractual agreement together? Why does it have to be that there always has to be a warning? Why is it that we always get a do-over in society, and we expect that? Why can't we just have our word be our bond? Why can't we say what we mean and mean what we say? And so I just have some issues, but the biggest one, like I said, is what it's going to do to the small landlord who is trying to get by and trying to be a good citizen. I think it's going to do a world of hurt for them. So we'll take a look at this bill as it continues on. We're going to continue on now, taking a look at, it was the topic of last week's show. I titled it A Kinder, Gentler Foreclosure. And so I wanted to give you an update with where we are with House File 1941, which was a bill proposed that would make mediation mandatory prior to any foreclosing entity's ability to move forward with the foreclosure process. and because we deal with homeowner associations on this show, this bill has some great concerns for us. Just in a nutshell, if you didn't hear last week's show, this bill, 1941, would say that it's mandatory now, before you even go ahead with foreclosure, you must set up a mediation between yourself and the homeowner. Number one, it means that there's going to be a fee paid, and I think it's about $300. So the state of Minnesota gets another fee, another tax, which is seems always so convenient in this process because they're the only ones that can manage this process. Then they're going to assign a mediator. And this process is going to take a number of weeks. It'll realistically take anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks from the time that you request a mediation to the time that it can actually take place. And then if there are any questions along the way, yes, it can be prolonged and even pushed even a little bit further. And now the mediator who's assigned is going to be looking at the protocol that everyone goes through, but specifically the one who is the foreclosing entity. So in this case, it would be the homeowners association. And they must follow what is called, quote, unquote, good faith. And there is a list of things that they have to do to show good faith. Any lack of good faith will result in what? Not just saying you've got to start over again with the process, but saying you have a prohibition from being able to foreclose on this person for an entire 1 year period of time, just because you may not have done something correctly in this good faith effort. What are my concerns or my observations about this bill? Well, I've got a few, okay? Number one that I have is that the person who's running this process is called a mediator. Now, if you know anything about mediation, that's where two parties have been willingly decided to come together to see if they can work out the issue. And I can tell you, when you have two parties that are willing to look at mediation, they're doing it on their own volition, there's a better chance that the mediation is going to take place and stick because you have people who are doing it of their own volition. Now you are saying to someone, I'm requiring that you do this. So it is not even an option anymore. And when you do that, I think you're taking away some of the goodwill from right off the bat with it being successful. Okay? And a mediation is not like a trial. It's not like arbitration because it's not binding. However, this person who's called a mediator, if you take a look at the wording of the bill, they will have responsibility to make judgments along the way as to ascertaining what I talked about, what is considered good faith. And if anything was not considered, quote unquote, good faith, then this mediator can make a judgment. And that judgment has dire consequences because it says, now you can't come forward for an entire 1 year period of time, even though the person owes you money. And they may owe you a lot of money. Well, guess what? They're going to owe you even a lot more money because a whole nother year is going to pass before you can bring this up. So what's problematic with me is this mediator ends up acting more like an arbitrator because they're making some decisions. They're making some judgments. And I think that's a dangerous place to be. There are a number of other items that I think are so dangerous, but I tell you what, let's take a break right now. When we come back, we've got one more segment, and we'll wrap up our thoughts on what's happening with this update of House File 1941 on mandatory mediation before being able to foreclose. Back after these messages.